The year is 2021. You, Noah, just graduated from college and just moved from Connecticut to Boston. You decided new city, new hobby. Let's get into photography. So you went to the only place that you can buy used cameras. Depop. That's right. And you bought this camera, this Vivitar V2000. Let's see if we can get that to focus. On Depop, just hoping, wishing, dreaming that it would actually work. My first roll was garbage, hot garbage, as they say. But my second, third, fourth, and fifth, I fell in love with not just photography, but film photography specifically. It was super immersive. I got to learn the exposure triangle actually it was for the first time I got to learn it. And so it was really cool to be able to take photos, drop off my film, and then pick it up a few weeks later. I loved the texture. I loved that I didn't need to edit anything, and it felt like a really easy entry into the hobby. And it was cheap. The camera itself was maybe $50, and then the expensive part was obviously film and processing. But all that to say, I have had this camera just sitting for the past, 6 years? I don't think I've put a roll of film through this in at least 3 to 4 years. And so I was digging through my photography gear and found a roll of black and white film, which I don't think I'd ever shot. So, kind of in the black and white trend that we've been on in this channel, I am going to shoot film again for the first time in probably 5 years. So, we'll see if we get anything good. I have no idea what we're going to shoot, but we're going to shoot something. Our last location, I have maybe 3 shots left on this roll of film, is Rockport. If you've seen the proposal, that red house over there is in the movie. So yeah, that's a thing. Most of this roll was kind of seaside, more nautical type stuff, and so I wanted to see if we could finish with some more detail type shots. So I'm hoping to grab a few more of those before we call it quits. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what this roll of film looks like and how it comes out. I tried to underexpose some of the stuff to see if I could get it closer to how I shoot digitally, because I do tend to try to underexpose things. But only time will tell. Get a load of this.
Hi Noah, this is Hunt's Photo and Video Melrose calling. Just letting you know that your film development order is complete and has been emailed to you and will be disposed. All right, have a good one.
Film is right there. And I reminder to call my mom. Sorry, Mom. We'll start from this first photo. This is from my office chair. So again, nothing really to see here, but there's just something about film. This picture is literally, there's nothing here. there's nothing in it. There's no subject, but it captures just a feeling, and I'm obsessed with it. The second one was the same exact place, but again, another test shot of my cat, my gato, Texas. Next few shots are of that house that we talked about, and forget everything I just said about focus because this entire photo is out of focus. The next one as well, the house that's off in the distance is not in focus whatsoever. So those are some throwaways for us. However, the next few shots that were taken at the lighthouse and Marblehead, very different vibe to some of the stuff that I've shot there on the XT5. But again, there's just something different about film that I really enjoy. The blacks, what I'm noticing is the blacks are not super contrasty. There seems to be a lot more midtones than blacks, which in post I might edit just to my liking a little bit more. I love to spot meter, and so it might make a little bit more sense for me to do some post editing on these photos as well. Next up, we have this photo of the house at that same park in Marblehead. Looks great. I really do like the framing of this one. I was a little anxious as to what black and white film would look like on a beautiful blue sky sunny day, that there wouldn't be as much, again, contrast and just detail. Black and white draws out a lot of detail, and I was worried that a super sunny day would kind of blow out that. And I do think that it takes away a little bit, but I still enjoy it. This next photo is of, what would you call it? Binocular? Is that what that is? Telescope? Whatever, those things at the park. I do have a few photos I can include in the video of some previous photos I've taken specifically of this subject, but I tried to replicate that same picture here. I think in retrospect, I would have shot this at a much wider or a much higher aperture or tighter. I don't know what do people say? Tighter, wider, larger? I don't know. I would have shot this at like f/16. In retrospect, I want to say that for the majority of this roll, I was shooting around f/5. And if I was trying to do shallow depth of field, I was shooting at f/2.8 if I could. But I do think that this would have been enhanced if the background wasn't as blown out of detail. So good note for black and white that I should be probably shooting with a higher aperture. Here's another one from that same park. This gave a little bit more context to the entire scene. That lens is, I believe it's 28 millimeter. And is it actually? Hold on. 28 millimeter. So that's, I mentioned this, that is as wide as I've ever shot on anything. So I was trying to, I'm sure you can tell by some of these photos, I was trying to narrow down a little bit more into specific subjects where I'm finding that I am actually really pleased with this composition. And I wonder if it's because I'm leaning more into having a wider focal length that can establish a little bit more context. So there being kind of people all over the place, families playing, the kid on the person's shoulders. I do enjoy that, and I think that it gives a little bit more warmth to the feeling. It gives a little bit more warmth to the photo itself. You can see in the next one, immediately after that, there's still people there. I'm kind of parked a little further back. I actually don't like this. It feels a little bit more impersonal because I'm so far. I much rather prefer the other perspective where people are a little closer. You have a very clear subject. You have a little bit more of a question of what's going on in that first photo than you do in that second photo. Again, another photo of that telescope, or whatever we're calling it these days. This one is definitely much better than that first one, and I do really enjoy the composition here. I always struggle to know where to place things on the horizon when I'm shooting the ocean. And I do think that having the horizon square in the middle of the frame really lended well to isolating the subject and giving context to where the telescope was. You can see the rocks, you can see a lot more detail than you can in that first photo. There's this photo here. Again, I did mention in that video that there was a Make-A-Wish event just by fate happening at that park that was going on. There was, I believe it was a 4-year-old who has childhood leukemia, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong. But this photo with all of the people cheering him in walking down, I think is a great action shot. I definitely feel like I chose the right depth of field. I do feel like I chose the right shutter speed. There's a lot of movement going on, but people are still frozen in place, which I do enjoy. This feels a lot more documentary style, and I do think I enjoyed being able to shoot people a little bit more, and I was not expecting that with this roll. So, as Bob Ross says, happy little accidents. So there's another one from that day, kind of shot on a rock. Again, you can't really see much that's going on here, but I do enjoy that you can see that something is happening. I do think having the lighthouse in the background gives a little bit more of a question or conversation as to what exactly is happening. I like that the door is open, that you can see a huge boom mic. Holy crap, I didn't realize how big that that pole is holding the mic. That's huge. Wow, that guy's strong. Okay. After that last photo, we did move on. I'm forgetting the name of where this was. It might be Castle Rock, which is also in Marblehead, just kind of a few miles down the road. This is a shot, again, I'm trying to replicate some of the shots that I've taken on digital to get a little bit more of what the contrast was. I liked the natural yet geometric yet symmetry that I got from this composition. And in the digital photo that I had taken previously, I can show that here. That photo has a lot more contrast. You can see that the rock itself almost acts as a silhouette because I was spot metering for the distance. Gonna be honest, I have no idea how to spot meter with a film camera, so maybe that's something that we will learn. I did take a few shots in this composition trying to underexpose a little bit so that I could get more shadow, and I don't think it worked. Or what I can tell is that I was focusing for the distance, and so the rock that's right in front of you, again, is not in focus. I think this would be a much more compelling photo where I stopped down to f16, f22, whatever. What does this go to? f22. If I stop down to f22, I do feel that having kind of everything a little bit more flat would have been a better choice. The next location for the shoot was Halibut Point State Park, which is in Gloucester. I have shot this specific house probably half a dozen times now. This is the first time on film, and I do wish I came on a different day. Were it a little bit more overcast, a little darker, I think having black and white would have just given me a little bit more contrast. I'm also noticing that this lens itself is very, very mushy around the corners, and you can even tell that there's some vignetting on these photos, which serve well to kind of draw attention to the center, but were I'm more in control of the exposure itself, I probably would have stopped this down or compensated much lower to draw in a little bit more focus to the house itself. I think that the composition I really enjoy here, I've composed this a bajillion times, and it is what it is. But I do enjoy it. This is very nice. Next photo here was a little bit more of a detailed shot of the tree limbs themselves. I was, again, trying to draw a little bit more contrast and almost use the like spot metering equivalent. I had underexposed very slightly, and as you can tell, it's appropriately exposed, which is not a bad thing. I'll take it. I think this is a great example of where this lens may fall flat specifically. I'm interested to see how it'll do on digital, but focusing on farther subjects like this, I don't know if you would call this a lighthouse, at this state park, at this quarry, I did stop down the lens here. I remember doing it, trying to get everything in focus, and everything was quite mushy. I imagine that were I to have a little bit more assistance in an electronic system as far as focus peaking goes, it may have been a little easier to get things in context. But I do enjoy the composition itself. I think it would have been amazing if this was entirely in focus. Okay, our last stop for this roll was Rockport, which is Rockport. It's cool. This next photo I really like. Again, I was stopped down a lot here. I'm just, and maybe this is me, but I'm just not used to photos being not blurry, but like just not super sharp. And I love the composition here. I think there's a lot of context, yet a clear subject or subjects. I enjoy the composition. I wish it was a little sharper. And maybe that's because my camera's from Depop and is $60, but who's counting? Here's another perspective of that same composition, just shifted a little bit up. I actually do prefer the other composition more, but this one is definitely a lot more in focus. And so it's something to think about for the future of my film photography. Maybe it's the OVF in this camera. Maybe I need to wear glasses when I'm focusing. Who knows? Here at the last few photos, this lighthouse specifically, as I said in that clip earlier, is the, what was the movie? Oh, it's in The Proposal. So this might look familiar to some. An iconic red house, fishing house, boathouse, whatever you want to call it, right by the ocean. I do like this composition a lot. I kind of wish that I had pushed it towards the upper third and not the lower third, so there was a little bit more of the ocean in play. I love that it's focused for the most part, but I do think black and white plays a little, does not play to the advantage of the composition itself here. It was a bright blue sky day, super sunny, and this is a red subject originally. And so should I have had color film in, I think that this would have been a much stronger and more compelling photo. Last but not least was this reflection shot. There is not really a lot of people here in this location at this time of the year. It was March when I shot this, I believe. And so ideally there would have been more of a clear and dynamic subject in the reflection, but there wasn't. I don't think that this is a bad photo. It just doesn't necessarily say anything or ask many questions. So, editing Noah here. I am looking through all these photos and realizing, number one, none of the photos that you saw in the video as I was explaining them were edited. I do think that a lot of them were overexposed, and then looking at them in contrast to some of my digital stuff, I decided to go back and touch up the photos a little bit and make them a little bit more contrasty. So I'll insert those at the end of the video if you want to see how they look after they have been edited. Take a peek. Thank you for sticking around this long. This is a long video, so thank you. Yeah, that was this first roll. Let me know if you'd like to see more film. I do like recapping in this way and kind of critiquing the photos a little bit. I definitely think that it stretches me and forces me to have a little bit more critical thinking when it comes to composing in real time. But film was fun. I do think that there's some quirks, and should I have the opportunity to shoot a little bit more, I definitely would. I will say, however, this $40 for 2 rolls, they are gonna refund me for the color roll. But the black and white roll was $20.98. Insane. Absolutely insane. Maybe it's where I got it developed. Maybe that's just me. But regardless, absolutely insane that these 32 shots, not that they were bad or wasted, but that the film itself probably cost me $10. And then $30. That's almost a dollar a shot. It was a fun experiment. I'm happy I did it, and I'm excited to see how this lens specifically squares up on Fujifilm X-T5. I'm really excited to see if I get the same kind of vignetting that I was getting on these film photos with this adapted onto a digital platform. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Love you. Peace.